Good morning, guys. This is Nina with Get Right Nina, also with Gathering Pearls. I wanted to stop by and talk to you this morning because someone that I really enjoy and pay attention to a lot is Tony Gaskins. And I know a lot of times women, especially if we're already a little sensitive on different subjects and things, when we hear men talk about issues with men and women, sometimes it can be a little it's almost like when someone who doesn't have kids tell you something and you're like, oh goodness, you don't even have kids, how are you gonna tell me something? But one thing I love about Tony Gaskins that's very different is that he's been there, done that, and he counsels women, so he knows. But he said something very intriguing on one of his videos. If you get a chance, check it out. I think it's what real men want. That's it. And he said something about, knowing your worth and about going into a man's home and doing everything for him. And I just thought about how real that is, and I really wanted to touch on that because I'm a plus size woman, and I'm working on it because I want to be healthy. I don't like being out of breath. I don't like being unhappy or out of shape or feeling, because I ran track so much in my life, and then when I had kids, start putting on the weight, and you just let yourself go, and you see the importance as you get older of a self-care routine. But I say that to say that a lot of times in relationships I always felt inadequate because I had put on weight. And it's almost like with an interview. You might have gotten fired, you might have had something happen. That employer, seeing that cover letter, they're going to look at the stats and then decide, okay, should I interview, should I call him back or not? Same thing. A man does not know your story. He doesn't know, oh, okay, she went through a depression, or he doesn't know those things. So to him, face value, he sees, okay, she's overweight or she's out of shape. They don't take the time to even really know who you are, what your struggle is. And really, honestly, some of that shouldn't be divulged right away. But it always made me feel inadequate. And so a lot of times I felt like I was always trying to overcompensate in other areas. And so if I did have maybe a title for this video, it would be, "You Are Doing Too Much." And the reason why I say that is because as women, and I've talked to other women, what we do is when we feel less than the best, or when we feel like, what, I'm not perfect, how can I expect someone else to be perfect? And to some extent, that thinking is real talk. But on the flip side of that, it ends up making us overcompensate, settle, be in unhealthy, unhappy, or toxic relationships. And we end up just going through the motions only to resent and be angry with ourselves for our choice, and to eventually just kind of look at this Negro like, you're a bum Negro. You feel me? And so we have the power to change that by assessing who we really are and not having to do that, and really adding value to ourselves and worth to ourselves by looking at, okay, where am I at today? Where were I yesterday? And then, has there been any growth? Has there been any change? And if not, who can I link with? Who can I connect with? What books can I read? How can I pray? How can I be mindful of what needs to grow and change in my life so that I can be a better me, so that I'm not always doing that? And the reason why I say this video would be called "You're Doing Too Much" is because like I told you, with me struggling with my weight and different things, I'm sorry, I'm not used to hair, it's aggravating. What I would do is, when I would start dating a guy and he seemed genuinely interested, and I already didn't feel the best about myself, and he seemed to take some true interest in me, I found myself doing too much, trying to show him my value by being a wife before he was my husband. And there's a real problem with that because, one, it creates fatigue, relationship fatigue, and burnout. Because there's there's so much that should be saved just for your husband, which is why a lot of people feel like God punishes us through his rules and his regulations or what he desires. In reality, he's protecting us. I just wish people would get that. It's like your child. You tell them to put their helmet on. You're not trying to ruin their bike fun. You're trying to keep them Negroes safe. Okay? But a lot of people have determined to believe God is just against us. And really, the rules he set in place about being married, the marriage bed being, undefiled, and sex being for marriage is a beautiful thing. Because certain tasks, certain things that you do, certain ways that you look, certain things should only be saved for your honey boo boo when he says I do, and when you say I do. And when you start doing his laundry, when you start cooking for him, cleaning for him, you're trying to show him your value, your worth. You're going about it the wrong way, because a man has to lead. And like I said in my other video about women proposing to men, when you don't allow a man to lead, you truly cripple them. Not because you're trying to intentfully hurt them, but by design. They are meant to be the aggressor. They're meant to have the vision. We are to come alongside them and help them with those things. But when you help a man out of assignment, good Lord, that's another thing. Okay, that's another video, another day. When you help a man out of assignment, you are enabling laziness. You're enabling disorder. And you ever notice that in a relationship, women feel like this is not fair. He don't do his part. I'm doing everything. It's because in reality, we don't address the fact that we go into it trying to make him feel that we are so valuable and so precious that we end up doing too much. Let's say he has a job interview. You're ironing his shirt. Let's say he got a job interview. I'll do that resume. Now, when you're married and you're assisting your husband, that's not an issue, because that's your job. You're his helpmeet. You're to come alongside where he's short. But when you're helping a man who that God has not designed that man to be your lead, you're out of assignment. And anytime you're out of assignment, chaos and disorder happens. And it leaves you feeling resentful. It leaves you feeling angry. It leaves you feeling like he's a lazy bum and he doesn't do anything. And it's not that he's a lazy bum and doesn't do anything. You just gave too much too soon, and you've enabled him and crippled him from even having mobility. And so I would say, if you're single or if you're in a relationship and you know the relationship has red flags and you haven't said I do, ask God for an exit strategy. Even if it hurts. Even if it hurts, you have to deal with the pain. I'm going through that now, so I am practicing what I'm preaching. I really am. Because it's okay to realize, you know what, I calculated this wrong, or I had this wrong, or I messed this up. It's okay to realize you've made a mistake. No one can fault you for that. But when you get married knowing you made that mistake, you're now it's almost like being alive in a casket, buried 6 feet deep, and you have this awareness that people are walking up outside. You have this burning desire, like, y'all don't hear me down here, but no one can hear you because you buried yourself alive. And that's the same thing that happens when you try to overcompensate and you do too much, take on too much, trying to prove your worth in an inadequate and a erroneous way. So versus doing that, be who you are. Love who you are. Assess who you are. Evaluate who you are. Change who you are. Because there's two versions of you. There's the turned up version of you that is awesome in God, that is just awesome in life, that have goals, ambitions, desires, and drives. And then there's this watered down version of you that's just like, okay, this is the best I can do. You gotta love me where I'm at. This is just who I am. But the problem about that is it changes the quality and caliber of man you attract. And so then, because you end up attracting who you are, seeing yourself mirrored in that man, you end up now taking more of his likeness and less of who you are, and less of your likeness and less of God's likeness, and you end up trying to overcompensate. You end up doing too much. Yeah, you're doing too much, boo-boo. Sit down. You know, it's true. I felt like I was doing too much, and you might relate to that, and I'm sure you probably do. So that's something you can do, is say, you know what, I'm just going to take a season for me. I'm just going to take a moment for me. And he may not understand that, and he may even try to stop you from doing that and telling you why and how much you mean to him. If you mean that much to him, he will say, okay, I love you and I'm not going nowhere anyway, if that's what God has for you. And he will give you time to work on being your best you, so that you can be your best you for you first. Well, for God first, for you first, your family. And then you'll be ready for him. And by then, if he's a good man, okay, and he's working on himself, he won't be enabled, he won't be lazy, he won't take advantage of your disadvantage. If not, then he wasn't for you anyway, and you got to come to terms with that reality, as hard as it is. And guess what? The sun will shine again, because sometimes we feel like that's the best that we can get, and God always has updated models and versions. Okay, Toyota ain't got nothing on God when it comes to the next best version. So just have faith and trust and confidence, knowing that, okay, if I have to take a loss right now, I'm coming back harder and better. And you will. Just don't overcompensate. Don't do too much. That's my time, because I told you guys I'd be trying to keep it under 10 minutes. I went over by a minute and 30 seconds. I don't want you to watch the videos. I don't want you not to watch them because you feel they're too long. So watch the video, share the video, like the video, subscribe. More to come. Love you guys. Praying for you. I really am, because we all need it, and God designed us to be one with another. Bye.